We're on plan to defeat, destroy, disable all of their meaningful military capability.
The U.S. Military Command made a fast and urgent decision to send another 3,000 Marines to the Middle East border area. The order was given immediately. All available transport options were activated. At military bases across the country, Marines were already gathered and waiting near their assigned V-22 Osprey aircraft on the flight line. They stood ready in full combat gear, body armor, helmets, rifles, and heavy backpacks. When the order came, they quickly began boarding. The rear ramps of the Ospreys were lowered, and the Marines took their seats and secured themselves. The ramps closed, the rotors started spinning, and the aircraft lifted off toward military ships already placed in the region. These ships acted as transfer points where another group of Marines was already stationed and preparing to move into the Middle East. On the ships, preparation had already started. Officers gave quick briefings in rooms below the deck. They explained emergency actions, rules of engagement, and backup plans. The briefings were short and clear. After the briefings, Marines moved to their positions and started preparing their weapons. Magazines were taken from ammo boxes and loaded bullet by bullet. Rifles were checked to make sure they worked properly. Sidearms were loaded and placed in holsters. Extra magazines were given out and stored in their gear. Machine gun teams built their weapons, placed them on bipods, and tested them. The preparation did not stop. Every Marine on the ship was either loading ammo, checking gear, or receiving orders. While all of this was happening at sea, one of the first Marine groups reached their landing point in the Middle East. The Ospreys landed, the ramps opened, and the Marines came out with their equipment. Their mission was to build a temporary camp that would work as a starting base for all the units arriving after them. They had to build everything from nothing. The Marines unloaded their bags and supply crates from the aircraft. Camouflage nets were set up first, stretched over poles to hide the camp from above. Then they built overhead covers using tarps fixed to frames to give shade and protection. After that, digging started. Teams began creating defensive positions around the area. Fighting holes, observation points, and vehicle protection walls were made. Sandbags were filled and stacked. Firing areas were cleared. Communication antennas were set up, and contact was made with command. Within a few hours, the empty desert turned into a working forward camp with protection, defenses, and communication systems connected to the fleet. On the ship's top deck, Marines practiced live fire drills. Targets were placed at the back of the ship, and shooters took turns doing combat shooting practice. Between drills, they adjusted their sights and set their weapons for real combat distances. The shooting continued in rotation. One group fired, another loaded magazines, and another cleaned weapons. At the same time, at military bases handling heavy equipment, operations were running at full speed. Forklifts and cargo machines moved non-stop across the runway. Armored vehicles were driven into C-17 transport aircraft and locked to the floor. Pallets of ammunition, boxes of rifle rounds, mortar shells, grenades, and anti-tank missiles were loaded behind them. Food, water, medical supplies, spare parts, fuel tanks, and portable generators were also packed. Everything needed for field operations was loaded into the aircraft. The C-17 aircraft were filled one after another. Once loaded and secured, each plane moved to the runway and took off toward the Middle East. More aircraft were already waiting to be loaded. The supply system was running day and night. Everything the Marines needed for combat would be ready when they arrived. You got to. Yes, we're going to get